Hi, everybody in 1st through 4th grade. Today is Wednesday, November 25th. And today, I'm going to try to keep this video fairly short because what I would like to happen is to see everybody finish the project that we're doing in Wixie, that program that we've been using, or you could call it a website, you could call it a program that we've been using for the past couple weeks. And this week is the last week that we're going to be working in Wixie for now. We may have something later in the year in computer class. You may have something in another class like art or your homeroom class that comes up that you can do in Wixie, but this is the last week in computer class for now that we're going to be using it. So, in the past couple of weeks, we've talked about how to get to the website Wixie, how to sign in, or the fact that you're signed in with Google, and how to go ahead and do basic things for a project in Wixie and use the tools. And last week we started a project. Now, that project I'm going to bring up here, and for first and second grade, and third and fourth, I made it the sample project that has to do with seasons. Now, the only little difference is that in Google Classroom, I said that third and fourth grade, because you guys used Pixie with me for the past 2 years, if you guys knew it that well and were that good at it and liked it, and you wanted to do a different project that you made on your own, you did have that option. So, whichever one you did, the seasons one that everybody could do, or the one that you made up in third or fourth grade, if you chose that, that is going to be due today. We're going to try to get it finished all the way done and turn it in. Now, this is mine. So I'm signed in to a sample student account, and I asked you for 4 pages in this project, right? So last week we talked about the fact that you see 1 page at a time, but you could go and use these arrows, right? And you can move them or click them rather to get to the different pages. So we have in the seasons project spring, summer, fall, and winter. Or you could see them all at once if you click on this, looks like a little window icon that says story underneath, and you can see all of the pages together. This is the assignment or an assignment that we had saved and hopefully you worked on last week and got done at least pages 1 and 2. And I'm going to show you my pages 1 and 2 in a second. If you're in this view and you need to get back to your pages, all you do is a double click and it brings you right back to where you can edit a single page at a time. There's no way to edit them this small and do like edits on here, edits on here. When you're in this view, you need to be back on the single page view. And I probably should have mentioned, and I did in previous weeks, but the way that we got to here is by going to the assignments folder, right? So you should see by clicking on the assignments folder that the seasons assignment that we got assigned last week. Now that's for everybody. If you are a third or fourth grader and you decided to do the other one and create one on your own, you could just ignore that assignment. It's okay if you are doing another one on your own. So I'm going to talk about just a few quick tips or advanced techniques or things to know about Wixie that we might not have said before, and then we're going to see how to finish and turn it in for today to be finished. So here's mine. And what I did is I pretended I'm a student, and I pretended that I finished how much we were supposed to get done last week, which was the first 2 pages, 2 out of 4. So here is my page about spring, and as you can see, I added in some shapes. I drew with the paintbrush and some different techniques there, and then I added in different stickers or pictures to make a nice complete picture about the season spring. And I added in text where it has the seasons as a title, by, and then my name, and spring down here at the bottom. For page 2, I finished one or just about finished one that says it has to do with summer, right? And everything on this page has to do with the summer. And I added in, it was mostly stickers for this page. I did another small thing or two, but the text in summer and then added in those pictures. And for today, my job and your job would be to go and do this one. That's all about the fall. So let me change this word to fall in the text box. That's also called autumn, if you've ever heard of that word. And again, we know because we've seen before that we can change our fonts, our sizes, our colors, all those good things. And so let's call this one fall. Let's make the font a little bit bigger, and let's change its color. after I move it a tiny bit, let's change its color to a color that I think of as a little more like fall, like maybe this red right here. Okay, and I would finish this by putting in maybe some things in the sky, maybe some things on the ground, maybe some people, maybe some animals, maybe some plants, and different things that have to do with fall. And then finish this one that has to do with winter. And we talked before about tons and tons of ways that you can go and get images, get stickers, and different elements that you can add. Now, I'm going to be fairly fast because I want this to be a short video and you guys have a good amount of time to work. But let's talk about two different things that sometimes come up when you're working with different images in Wixie. So here's the first thing, and it has to do with something I've mentioned before, or if you're in first grade, I might not have mentioned it as much, but it's different distances of things, right? When we work on paper, like with crayons, like with pencils, or on the computer, we're imagining that in this picture, it's going back in the distance. So things that are up here, right, where my mouse is moving right now, those things are the closest, and that's called the foreground, right? Foreground. Things that are around this area, right? Things that are around here are a little bit more of a distance away, and that's called the midground. And then things that appear back here, right? That would be in the background. Now, let's say why that's important. Well, if we put these two stickers right next to each other, right? This boy, and here we have a boat with a water skier. It would seem like this boy is a giant, and these things are like tiny little toys, or that they're normal size and he's giant, or they're super shrunk and tiny. That's because they need to be different sizes where they're in different parts of the picture, the foreground, midground, and background, to make it seem a little more realistic. For instance, this green back here, now I didn't add that in, that was part of the background, but those are supposed to be mountains. Now, if we moved this boy to be at the same spot as them, again, he looks like a giant compared to those mountains, but we know that in real life, mountains are way, way bigger than people. But because they're in the background, those mountains are far in the back, they're supposed to appear much tinier compared to this boy who is in the front. And the way our brains work and the way our eyes work in combination when we look at a picture is we think, okay, these things in the front are closer, so that makes sense that they're bigger compared to things in the background that might appear very small, but they could be really large. It's just that they're far, far away. So by having this water skier right here, number one, it doesn't make sense because it's not in the water and you don't water ski on the beach. But by having it right here in the foreground, right, at the same area as this boy, it doesn't look right. It looks like something silly, something's off. It's not what we're expecting. But when I move it and I put it in the background and it's that size, it looks like, oh, that's a normal sized person. They're just farther away than this boy is when he's really close. Or look at this boy and this girl. If you put them right next to each other, that doesn't really make sense. That girl wouldn't be that small compared to that boy. But by moving the girl a little bit more to the midground, now it makes more sense. She's working on the sandcastle here. She's a little bit farther away. Now let's see how we would use that, right? I have a seagull right here. Now, that seagull's on the beach. He's looking for some French fries, looking to steal some food. He would probably come over here and get this hot dog. He's in the midground, so that looks like about the right size compared to this girl right here. But if I want more seagulls, right, I can do something called duplicating them, or it's like copying and pasting, where I can click duplicate, get another seagull. But what I want to do is if I want it up here next to this boy, now that seagull's way too small. So I would have to change its size a little bit. These seagulls next to each other, you can see they're very different sizes, and it looks like that doesn't really add up, or maybe this one's an adult, this one's a baby. But because they're in different sections of the picture, one in the foreground now and one in the midground, it's okay and it works. If I were to take this same seagull and put it way back here in the background, something doesn't look right. Because look, it looks like it's behind this person, but it's way, way bigger than this person. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't really add up once we start to think about it, because a seagull would not be 4 or 5 times the size of a person if it's off in the distance. So if I want another seagull back farther in the background, I would right-click, duplicate, and when I put this seagull back here, I would make it really tiny because he's far, far away. And if you ever looked at a photograph or looked at a picture that somebody took of a real place like the beach, and you saw different things at different distances, you would see the same things happen. A seagull up close in the picture in the foreground is going to be much bigger than a seagull way far away. It might look like a seagull up close is bigger than a boat, but we all know that a seagull is not bigger than a boat. One other thing that you could do, which might not be obvious at first, is you could flip pictures around. Now, when I made mine, I had to do that because I'll show you something very quickly. This girl, when I originally added her picture, I looked through the pictures. I found one where it looked like somebody was reaching out their hand and doing something, and I thought, oh, it'll look like she's making that sandcastle. It came into my picture like this, right? So at first it was like this, and I thought, oh, wait, I would have to have her maybe back there or something else. But what I can do is I could flip my pictures. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like if I did this, and let me show you how it's done. So I click on my picture, my tool is on the pointer, and you see these two buttons right here. That's going to flip my picture either horizontally, left and right, or vertically, up and down. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like if I click that and this girl's upside down, a lot of kids like to do that because it's silly, because we can laugh. But it doesn't really make any sense, right? There was no way that this girl would naturally look like that, especially if she's sitting at something at the beach. So let me put her back, but flipping her the other way, that could be really helpful in this case because it could make sense that she's facing the other way. So if you ever come up with pictures or find stickers or pictures and it looks like, oh, that would be really good, except they're just facing the wrong way, you can use those tools to flip them around. And I'll show you one last thing for a little bit of technique so you could finish up your pictures and do a really nice job for today. And I had to do that here because, let me show you why. I had this flower, this flower right here. Now, again, you can see that foreground, midground, and background, that works out here because a butterfly is not almost as big as a girl. But this girl is in the midground, and this butterfly is in the foreground. Anyway, sorry, back to what I was saying. This flower right here, I wanted this flower to be kind of big and in my foreground, in the front part, right? I thought it would look nice. The problem at first was that when I put it in, it covered up a lot of this word spring. And let me just do something real quick before I explain it so that I can show what that was like. So that was like this. I brought in my picture of a flower, and I wanted it about here, but it covered up letters in the word spring, and I didn't want that to happen. Now, what you have to imagine is when you make these pictures, every time you put a sticker or another picture on the page or a text box, like these text boxes here, it's like putting down a card, right? Or if you had a real piece of paper in front of you, putting down a card or putting down a cutout. And as you put them down, some are underneath of each other, some are over top of each other. One of them is at the very top, and one of them is at the very bottom. And at first, it might seem like that's not a big deal until you have a situation like this where you want something to be in front or behind something else in your picture. And how do you do that? Well, they don't make it very obvious, and in other programs, sometimes there's like a button over here or a menu item. Sometimes in some programs you could do a right click, which doesn't really work in this case. But there is somewhere you can go to change the order of things. So right here, I have my text box. I could click on either one. I could click on the flower and I could move it backwards, or I could click on the words, the text box, and I could move it forwards. But either way, I want these words to be on top of the flower. And you might come up with situations in your pictures where you want something like this to happen. So if you want to move something forward or backward, you can. There's one place to do it. You have to go up, after you click on the object, you have to go up to the Edit menu and down to Arrange. Right? Now, think about what I have here. I have my words. I want them to be on top of the flower, so I want to bring them forward. And since I know I don't want anything in front of my text, in front of the word spring right here, I could even say, oh, you know what? I'm going to bring that all the way to the front. And that's where we have these choices right here. So we have bring to front, bring forward, send to backward, or send to back. And they do 4 different things. If I know I want it to be the very top picture, I would do bring to front. Nothing else will be over top of it. If I know I want it to be the very bottom picture, now that's aside from the background, that's separate from the background. But if I want it to be the very bottom picture, I could do send to back, and then it'll go all the way to be the last or furthest away back picture. Bring forward and send backward, each does one step, either forward or backward. So in the case with these letters and the word spring right here, I want them to be at the very front. I'm going to choose bring to front. And now if you saw that little difference, the word is over top of the picture. Let's look at how that works right here with the butterfly and flower I mentioned earlier. Let's say with this butterfly, I clicked on it and I did edit, arrange, send backward. Well, look what just happened. Now the butterfly sticker is behind this flower. It doesn't look how I want because I want it to look like the butterfly is on top of the flower, like we sometimes see them out in nature, and this just looks odd. It doesn't look the way that I intended for it to. So I could click on that butterfly, edit, arrange, bring forward. And now that butterfly is over top of the flower. Okay, boys and girls, so we have talked about Wixie for the last couple of weeks. We've talked about just about every tool, just about every feature, or at least a good number of them for you to be able to do this. And so your job is to finish up this project by having all 4 pictures complete with spring, summer, fall, and winter. And do your best, be creative, make them nice, do the best you can. Now, when you are done, I'm going to point out 2 things. Number 1, if this wasn't an assignment, if you're in 3rd and 4th grade and you chose to do that where you made one on your own, you might need to share it, right? To share it, you would go to File, Share, and then it's going to say enter an email of whoever you want to share it with. Now, in my case, or in the case here, that would be my email address. And I'm sorry, but I should say, if you are doing the seasons one, if you're in 1st and 2nd grade, or you're in 3rd and 4th and you're doing the seasons one, don't do this. I'm just going through 2 different ways you could do it. This would only be if you created this on your own, like from scratch. It's not an assignment. You would click share, and you would type in my email address, henderson@weymouthtsd.org, and then click done. And I would get an email saying that you shared that with me. So if you created your own in 3rd or 4th grade and you did that alternate assignment where you made up your own, that's how you would get it to me. But since this season's one is an assignment, and I probably should have said it in the other order so that I should have done it this way first, but everybody who made the seasons one, this is the way that you turn it in. And it's much, much simpler. You don't have to type in a whole email address. Since I assigned this to you, and this showed up in your assignments folder, all you have to do is go to File, Mark as Complete right here. And once you mark it as complete, before you do that, it gives you a warning because you can't do anything else to it. So you don't want to go mark it as complete right away in the beginning. You want to wait until you're definitely done. But once you mark it as complete, then I go into my account for Wixie and I can see everything that you did. I can see your work. I can see all of the different pages that you added to it and everything that you did, it like an assignment for class. So this box pops up saying, are you sure you want to do this? Because once you do, you won't be able to see it anymore or edit it anymore, change it anymore. And I'm going to say yes. So for everybody in 1st and 2nd grade and everybody who did this season's project, we're going to do File, mark as complete, and then yes that we want to turn it in. And once you're done, I will get those. I'll be able to see them, and I will love seeing them and see all the great jobs that you guys did. I hope that you like using Wixie. Next week, we're going to switch and go to do something totally different. But you'll probably be able to see Wixie again in class at some point, and definitely go on there anytime you want during computer class, other times, just for fun, if you ever want to be creative and make something. All right, have a great Thanksgiving weekend, everybody, and I will see you next week.